Okay, it's time to get started. So this webinar, the topic is, so you have upgraded to Oracle SOA Suite 12c, what next? My name is Matt Brazier. I'll talk about myself in a second. So the agenda for this session, we're going to talk about various things that you do after your Oracle SOA Suite upgrade. And by after the upgrade, we're talking about essentially anything that happens after you've actually completed the upgrade process. So there are a number of post-install steps that come from Oracle's install guide to make sure that things have gone well with the install and to make sure everything's done correctly and that you redo customizations that you may have made and that kind of thing. We'll talk about some of our best practices from C2B2 for other things that you should be doing after you've done the install, and then some of the things that you might want to think about moving forward with SOA Suite 12c as you continue to use SOA Suite. So this presentation is being done by C2B2. So we are a Oracle Gold partner. We are have certified consultants for Oracle SOA Suite. We're specialists in middleware and integration technologies. We provide services, consultancy services and support services to our customers to make sure that their middleware is delivering to the best it possibly can for the organization, making sure that it's performant, that it's being managed correctly, that it's all working smoothly and isn't causing problems, and is doing everything that it can to make sure that everything works as smoothly as it possibly can. So my name's Matt Brazier. I'm a consultant. I've been a middleware consultant with C2B2 for 9 years, over 9 years now. I've been doing middleware consulting for about 14 years, or middleware for about 14 years. I've started working with WebLogic 5.1 as a WebLogic administrator stroke developer, and I've used every version of WebLogic between then and the current version. I've worked with lots of other technologies, including the Oracle stacks, including Oracle SOA Suite. And a couple of years ago, I wrote the Oracle SOA Suite 11G Performance Tuning Cookbook, which is very good if you want to make sure that you're getting the most out of the performance of Oracle SOA Suite. And much of what's in that book, although it's focused on 11G, most of what's in there still applies to SOA Suite 12c or can be adapted to SOA Suite 12c. So, first thing then that we're going to talk through is the post-install steps. So the things that Oracle suggests that you do following completion of the upgrade. So the recommendations: reapplying script customizations, verifying file permissions, verifying that closed instances have migrated successfully, and then starting the service and testing the applications. And I'm going to talk about each of these in a little more detail on the following slides. So reapply script customizations, and this is one of the key ones really. The installer will overwrite any start scripts with new versions. It needs to do this so that the scripts are pointing to the correct binaries. So the scripts in your domain will have been pointing to the binaries for starting and running Oracle SOA Suite 11G. And so it overwrites these scripts with scripts that point to the binaries for your Oracle SOA Suite 12c install. Obviously, once it's overwritten these scripts, you've lost any customizations that you have made to these scripts. And the primary things that people configure in these scripts will be memory parameters, JVM arguments, Java agent configurations if you've got things like CA, Wiley, Interscope, or any tools like that that require you to add Java agents into the Java startup arguments. All of that configuration that's in those scripts will have been overwritten. So you'll need to make any changes that you made to those scripts again. So we recommend that before you run the upgrade, you'll have backups of these scripts, or you can go and look at versions from your source control system and work out what the changes are between those and the default scripts, and you can reapply those changes to your new scripts. And the main thing that people change is memory parameters or JVM arguments, and it's quite common for people to forget to make the updates. So they'll have a Oracle SOA Suite 11G installation. They'll have customized the memory to give it more perm space, to give it more heap space for doing its various bits of work. And then when they switch to 12C, they'll lose those upgrades, but they won't remember that they were there, or they won't remember that they need to reapply those upgrades. And then they'll be wondering why the 12C system is running so much slower than 11G. So reviewing file permissions, very similar to what we discussed about how it doesn't apply script customizations. It doesn't preserve file permissions on any of the files in your domain. So many of the file permissions may have changed. So if you've made changes to the file permissions, or you've made changes to file ownership, so for example, if you've updated files to give them a different group ownership, so that a different group is able to read some of those files. This is quite a common thing to do if you have monitoring tools which are running as a different user to your the user that your SOA Suite installation is installed as, or if you run it as a different user to the user that installed it. You may need to go back and reapply those file permissions. So one of their recommended steps is to at least go in and check that the file permissions are as you expected them to be. Verifying that closed instances have migrated. So part of the installation process will migrate all of the running instances in real time, or not real time, but as it runs the installation process before the upgrade exits, it will have migrated all of the running instances, so that when you start things up, your running instances will be running and will be running on the 12C version. But closed instances, so historical instances that are still there in the database over whatever period of data that you have the data in there for, they get migrated in the background. So it will continue migrating those in the background until you start up your WebLogic servers that are running SOA Suite, at which point it will stop that migration. So you've got two choices. You can either leave it running and not restart your WebLogic servers after the upgrade until it's completed, or you can use the migration helper to schedule a time for it to run if you've got an off-peak time when you would like it to run. Although your servers are running, you know that it doesn't matter that it's doing the migration and placing load on the database. So to do either of those, there's a script in Oracle Home SOA Common SQL, SOA Infra SQL, Oracle 121300 upgrade admin. There's a SOA upgrade menu.sql script, and that script allows you to do things like check the progress of the update of the closed instances, start it, stop it, or schedule it to run at specific times. And so we'd recommend probably that you schedule it to run at specific times if it's going to be a long process, or that you just leave it for a few hours to complete so that before you start up the WebLogic servers. So once that's completed, or once you've scheduled a time for it to happen, you can start up the WebLogic servers, start the admin servers. So remember that your domain will still exist in the location that it previously existed, so it won't move any domain files. So if your domain was in your SOA Suite 11G home /user project /domains /SOA domain, for example, it will still be under that 11G Oracle Home for 11G rather than under the Oracle Home for 12C. It doesn't migrate the files, but it will have updated the start script to point to the 12C binary, so you can start it from that location, but you need to remember that that's where it is. Once the admin server has started up, then you can go and start your managed servers. Make sure that when things start up that you go and check the release number in the WebLogic console for the SOA binaries, and for the WebLogic binaries, make sure that it's running against the version 12 of WebLogic, and that your SOA components are the versions that you're expecting. And then in your Enterprise Manager, your Fusion Media Web Control Enterprise Manager, you can go and check that the instances are active and running, and that your various applications are working as expected. Then perform some testing, make sure that your application has upgraded successfully. So run whatever test suites you've decided on. We'd recommend a full regression test, but whatever tests you want to do to make sure that your upgrade has gone successfully, run those tests before making the application available for general use again. So those are Oracle steps. The next few slides are going to talk about some of the things that C2B2 recommend looking at or doing post-install in order to make sure that you're getting the best out of the Oracle SOA Suite 12c upgrade. One of the first ones, purging. So check that processes are still finding purgeable data. So this is something that we've found with upgrades of various types, that purging can change quite a bit between Oracle releases. They're getting better at writing their purging scripts, but they're often purge scripts are not working on what the business considers to be purgeable data. So Oracle's default purge scripts are very focused on, or they're very pessimistic in what they consider purgeable data. So they will only purge completed instances in which all of the children are in completed states as well. And so if you have processes where a parent composite starts a child process, and that child process will attempt to complete, and if it fails, the parent process will kick off another instance of that child process, which may then complete. That would not be a purgeable. That parent process wouldn't then be purgeable because it has a faulted child in the default Oracle purge scripts. So a lot of businesses customize those purge scripts or write their own purge scripts that purge data on a business view of what is purgeable. So from a business point of view, which processes have finished, and we can purge those. So it's important to review that that purging is still running at the right intervals, it's purging the right data, and make any changes to the purge scripts that you may need to make in line with any changes to the database structure or to the way business processes are running in SOA Suite 12c. Alarms. This is another thing that we've come across within 11G version updates as well as to 12C. So the newer versions of 11G and the earlier versions of 12C, and I think it's still current in 12C, I'm not 100% sure. There is a patch for this, but I don't think that it's made it into a 12C release yet. There are issues with alarms. There's a bug where when you restart an application server twice, so if you configure an alarm and then you restart the application server twice, the alarms that you configured 2 or more restarts ago don't fire until you refresh the alarms table, or you manually make changes or whatever needs doing. So it's always important to check alarms after any upgrade or any significant outage. So are there alarms that should have fired during the period of the outage, and do they fire correctly when you start the servers back up, or do they get stuck? And then you might need to manually refresh the alarm table or manually refresh individual alarms, or make sure the alarms fire. And make sure that alarms are just generally firing correctly and working correctly. And updating documentation. So this is key, and again is something that often gets forgotten. Making sure that you sort out support guides, you update support documentation to point to the right script locations, so that somebody doesn't come in or isn't working on a night shift and has an incident, and they refer to the support guide and it tells them to restart the SOA Suite 11G installation, so they start up the 11G version again, or anything like that. Make sure that all of your documentation is updated, refers to the right script locations, the right versions, the right Java versions, the right WebLogic versions. All of that information gets updated in your support guides as soon as you've done the upgrade, so that if those documents are needed, they're up to date, and most importantly that they're not misleading and they're not going to cause anyone to make mistakes. Also updating development guides, making sure that developers are using the latest versions, if you've still got code development going on, whether you're going to use the quick start installations for SOA Suite rather than doing full installs and things like that, making any decisions that you need to make about how you're going to do development. Updating test plans. So in most upgrades, there may be one or two things that come out of the upgrade process that didn't go as smoothly as hoped, so making sure that there was stuff in those test plans to catch that next time. Examples of this would be maybe data problems in the database that caused the upgrade to not work particularly smoothly, and making sure that you have tests in place to ensure that the data is all consistent in the database. And also checking for any new bugs that you've spotted, or any new features, things that are behaving differently in SOA Suite compared to how they used to, making sure that your tests are updated to deal with that. And this can include just things like changing script locations again, or locations of buttons or commands within the SOA Suite console or the Enterprise Manager console, to make sure that your tests are telling people to do the right things and look in the right places. Then finally, technical debt. So technical debt refers to things that are low priority that you know you need to do, but that you have not prioritized doing because there are more important things to do. And these are often sort of minor things that will get done at some point. In agile projects, they're quite often the kind of thing that are used to pad out a sprint or a delivery. If you've got a few days here or there free, you can reduce some of your technical debt. So make some of the small changes that things that you know you ought to make in order to generally improve the quality of your system, but that are not a high priority to make. So there's a task to reassess what technical debt you currently have. So are there things that were previously issues that have been resolved by the upgrade? Are there new things that have come in from the upgrade? So, for example, if you've not yet updated your support guides and things, that might be something that gets added in as a technical debt item into a project. But also, one of the key things here is where there are improvements that you could make because of new features that SOA Suite 12c provides, or new ways that it works, things that you could take advantage of that you're not yet taking advantage of. This is a good opportunity to make sure that those features are captured, so that at some point, if there's time, somebody can refactor things to make sure that you are taking advantage of things where possible. So moving forward, what else do we need to look at? What else should we consider after we've done the upgrade? We've got things up and running, everything's gone smoothly, everybody's happy with the new version. What do we do going forward with our SOA Suite 12c installation? Well, one of the main things is to keep it up to date. So plan updates into your roadmap, stay up to date with the patches, make sure that future migrations are easy, especially if the migration to 12c was complex because you'd fallen behind on 11g versions. This is a good opportunity to get a new regime of trying to stay up to date on patches, trying to make sure that you've got the latest versions or you're not too far behind on the latest versions, so that if you do need to make upgrades, then you can make those upgrades, and obviously you get better support from Oracle if you're on the latest versions. So once you're on 12c, put together a process that gets you regular patching, make sure that you're up to date and staying up to date. Then reviewing the new features. Are there features of SOA Suite that you could take advantage of that maybe weren't relevant before, or you didn't really need, but now that they're available, they open up new avenues, new things that you could do. So there are improvements in the development lifecycle that you could make due to the new quick start installations. For example, you could build those into a continuous build and integration system, so that you could do nightly builds of your SOA Suite infrastructure and check that everything builds and compiles and does automated testing in a way that you couldn't easily previously do, because the installation of SOA Suite was very long and complicated and required really significant manual or expertise steps to get it working. So with the single Jumpstart installer for development, then you can install it very quickly and simply, and that allows you to have a from the ground up continuous build and integration, including the build of SOA Suite itself. Cloud connectivity and cloud connectors, the new integrations that are possible with service providers that you use that were either complex or not possible before. Those are now possible with the cloud connectors. And the event processing, this is quite a big one. Are there advantages that you can make from the inclusion of Oracle Event Processor integration into SOA Suite that allow you to look at the streams of data as they go through your SOA infrastructure and develop intelligence based on that, understand what your customers are doing or what your systems are doing better based on analyzing those streams of events as they pass through your system. And then can you manage SOA Suite better? Can you make improvements to scripts, policies, procedures based on some of the new features of SOA Suite and the new management improvements in SOA Suite? So that's really kind of the things that we consider important to look at and think about after a Oracle SOA Suite 12c upgrade. If you want more information about what we've been doing with SOA Suite 12c, or if you're planning your upgrade or you've done an upgrade and you'd like to talk to us about how we might be able to help or any advice that you want in how to do things, then our website at www.ctbt.co.uk. We have an email address, soa@ctbt.co.uk, that goes through to our team of SOA experts to help answer questions and provide advice. We've got some resources on our website, a couple of links on the slide there that will help you get information about SOA Suite, and the SOA Suite resources brings together all of our blogs, webinars, conference talks, etc. about SOA Suite into one place so that you can see all of the technical material that we've put together on SOA Suite and how to use it and how to get the best out of it into one place. So if anybody's got any questions, we've got a question tool built into the GoToMessenger, so if anyone wants to ask any questions, then please do so. Otherwise, thank you very much for your time. I know it's quite a sunny day outside there at the moment, so it's a shame to all be sat in watching webinar, so thanks very much for paying attention to me and spending the time listening to what we've got to say, and I hope it's been of use to you and that it will help you with your SOA Suite 12c upgrades, that it gives you some things to think about, and that maybe helps you catch a few things that may have slipped through the net when you do your upgrade to make sure everything goes more smoothly for you. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, then thanks very much for your time. Cheers.